So that's the closing argument that I saw, I think, the 2 hour closing argument that's
That's
posted
right.
out there. So I watched that and not the whole 2 hours, but
Sure.
some of the key moments there, the opening and then towards the end. And obviously you knew what you were talking about. Like you said, you had rehearsed this case, but there was almost like you were in flow. There was a knowing, a conviction
Yeah.
that you were trying to right or wrong. You were trying to, through that verdict, change the world. And so you said in the beginning of this conversation that you go into law school thinking you're going to change the world. Here you are changing the world. How do you prime the pump? And I want to go back to the case, but how do you prime the pump to be ready for a trial of that magnitude? Like, what's going through your head at, how old were you? 33, 34?
I think I was 33 at that, 34. I was young. I might
Yeah.
have even been 32, actually. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember my age, but I was young.
Yeah. Is there some, I mean, the confidence is just incredible. Is that something that you do to get yourself ready for these big moments?
It's interesting. I've had a lot of people ask me about that. How do you go into a courtroom and just act like you own it? Why do you think you're entitled to that? Or why do you feel like you're able to do that? And the simple fact is, and this is sort of silly, but I don't think about it. Right. I don't hyperanalyze. I think there's two ways of thinking the world, right? Viewing the world. You can just constantly look out, or you can look from the outside in. And I never do that outside in. Whenever I look in the mirror, I'm always like, oh, that's what I look like? Oh, okay. Didn't realize that. Probably should shave or get a haircut, or like I'm so constantly looking outward and engaging what's around me that I very often forget what I look like. I very rarely self-reflect in that way. Mm-hmm. That's a good thing and a bad thing, right? It's a bad thing in the sense that I can miss errors in myself, and I do all the time. The good thing is I can have a sort of intensity and passion and conviction into something that I'm doing and focusing. And it's one of the things that I teach the younger lawyers now at my firm is when you're taking a depo, like, get your face off of your outline and listen to the answers, because some of the most important stuff you're ever going to get in testimony is because you were listening and you said, wait, that doesn't make any sense. And then you hammer them, and then you get that great soundbite, or you get that great admission. It always happens then. Not always, but most of the time happens then. And being able to think on your feet and be engaged in what you're doing in the moment and not thinking about this process, but what you're doing is important. And I think when you're talking to a jury, if you believe in it and you don't hide anything or try to trick them, you'll win. I mean, assuming you're right, obviously, sometimes you have a dog case, but if you're right, you're going to win. And I really mean that. I mean, I'll tell you, during a trial, I will very often say, you know what, earlier I said this, and I was wrong on that. Mm-hmm. Sorry about that. I was wrong. I misstated the fact there. I believed it to be correct at the time, obviously, but I was wrong. So put that in context. But I wasn't wrong about the rest of this, right? And juries love that shit because they're like, oh, you're a human, and right. You acknowledge when you're wrong, and you acknowledge. It doesn't mean everything I'm saying is right, but it means that, I'm being as sincere as you can. And if you're truly bringing sincerity with some passion, mm-hmm. you can move mountains, right? You can move mountains with what you're doing. And, I think one of the important things with a jury is you really create, as much as you can, a sense of importance, right? And if you think about it, there's an incredible amount of drama in a trial, right? Mm-hmm. You have a person, Lee Johnson, he's dying of cancer. He's 30 something, and he's dying of cancer, and he has these two beautiful kids. And this moment in this courtroom, in that trial, right, is going to define the rest of their lives. This is this moment that this jury has a privilege and burden, it's both, of having to make this decision, and they're responsible for him. They're responsible for him. And then, of course, there's also even the greater impact on the company and potentially the world. And I think creating that moment, creating that intensity, because it's there in any trial, is our job, right? And even if you lose, you've created that for your client, and that's all they can ask for. They've gotten their day in court,
Right.
and I think that's, you lay it all on the line, and if you win, great. If you lose, you lose. But if you're passionate and you're right, you'll win more often than not.